This is a presentation I made to a county board of supervisors back in 2014, that was 6 years ago, about county currency, revitalizing rural culture. You will find, in particular, slide 16 of current interest. This is slide number 1. Slide number 2. The first computer. Which Ivy League university created it? Iowa State University, then known as the Iowa State College of Agricultural and Mechanical Arts. The first supercomputer. Which national laboratory invented it? Out back of Seymour's in rural Chippewa Falls. That's Seymour Cray. This is a scan of a memorandum from the chairman of IBM in response to the creation of the first supercomputer out back of Seymour's. It says, last week CDC had a press conference during which they officially announced their 6600 system. I understand that in the laboratory developing this system there are only 34 people, quote, including the janitor, end quote. Of these, 14 are engineers and 4 are programmers. And only one person has a PhD, a relatively junior programmer. To the outsider, the laboratory appears to be cost-conscious, hard-working, and highly motivated. Contrasting this modest effort with our own vast development activities, I fail to understand why we have lost our industry leadership position by letting someone else offer the world's most powerful computer. At Jenny Lake, I think top priority should be given to a discussion as to what we are doing wrong and how we should go about changing it immediately. Signed, D.J. Watson, Jr. The inventor of the microchip came from which major city in India? Grinnell, a megalopolis of that legendary province of India known as Iowa. The Green Revolution came from which major city in India? Cresco, another megalopolis of that legendary province of India known as Iowa. The Green Revolution fed billions of people, and that's why today places like Cresco, Iowa, are multiplying like rabbits. And here we have the New York Times reporting on how they're multiplying like rabbits. With farms fading and urban might rising, power shifts in Iowa. A way of life is eroding as small towns hemorrhage younger residents, a potent but unpredictable undercurrent, and a closely fought Senate race. Oops. Global economy versus rural culture. 10,000 years ago, agriculture arose, but now its small community heritage is discarded. National security is eroding. Where there is no vision, the people perish. The higher education nightmare. 3 mortgage-sized debts per family. That's 2 student loan debts and the house that they have to have children. Student loan debt is not dischargeable in bankruptcy, unlike, for example, mortgage. Graduates have decreasing jobs prospects due to globalization and, of course, immigration. The 2-income trap of young family formation dangerously delays childbearing so that many women have to go in for fertility treatments just to have a child that they thought they could get away with delaying. National security is eroding. Centralization is more efficient but less resilient to attack and corruption. Global, quote, financial meltdowns, end quote, more of a danger than ever. Greater openness to pandemics, whether biological, Ebola, or cultural ISIS. This is slide 16. Remember, this is 2014. The illusion of the gold city. Even with high incomes, responsible family formation is not affordable by most in cities. Casino-like career gambles to afford families. Addictions as a substitute for stable families. Eat, drink, and be merry, for we have no children. Localization is the answer. Every home a land-grant college. Remember, I talked about the Iowa State University Agricultural College, which was a land-grant college where the first computer was developed. Local self-sufficiency for national security. We should see that in the disappearance of food and toilet paper during emergencies that we just experienced. Best of both worlds for young rural families with children. Revitalization of higher education. Even Ivy League graduate courses are now available to rural areas online at low cost. And of course now, with the pandemic, we are encouraged to take courses online. Hands-on apprenticeships for advanced technical skills from the likes of the inventors of the computer, supercomputer, microchip, and green revolution. If those people haven't all been already sucked out of the rural areas, put into urban areas where they can't have children, and thereby destroyed that resource. Fortunately, it's not entirely gone. It's merely damaged, seriously damaged, but it is still there. Married student childcare from long-time local acquaintances, as opposed into urban areas where you might have to be concerned about how they're actually being treated and what they're being taught at a very young age. Pioneering national security. Local provision of essentials. This is local self-sufficiency, which is provided by a local currency, which encourages local provision of food, housing, medical care, etc. Reserve deputies as foundation of defense. You can expand your reserve deputies because you have a local currency that is paid for directly out of the property taxes. Ability to isolate and quarantine if necessary. Here again, this is 2014. The ability to engage in what's called protective sequestration as opposed to quarantining the entire county is a freedom-giving approach to pandemics. In other words, what you can do is, as did Princeton University in 1918, Princeton isolated itself from the outside world by providing its own necessities, and thereby escaped any deaths from that pandemic. They don't talk about this now, but that's what they did. And certainly a county with agricultural supports and talent can do this to protect itself from a future of pandemics sweeping through the world. The best of both worlds. Artisanal culture, including local foods, arts, and architecture. This provides also affordable family formation. How? County currency to grow big enough local economies. County governments gradually issue their own currencies in the form of transferable tax credits, good for county tax liabilities. That's it. Why is now the time? Well, 2014, it was the time, and I think now people are catching on that maybe it really was the time, if not earlier. The internet is mature infrastructure. A revolution in flexible manufacturing is upon us, and people are wising up to the casino of the global economy and the value of family and friends. Well, now they're really wising up to that, aren't they? Quote, "We are on the verge of the next industrial revolution," said Christine Furstos, Technical Director of Manufacturing and Materials at GE Global Research. "The physical and digital worlds are converging, technology enabling disruption, and all of us have a role to play." This is about General Electric having General Electric has already made significant headlines when they 3D printed metal-fueled nozzles for their LEAP jet engines. That's a 3D printed titanium aluminide trimmed blade. In other words, you can 3D print things that are very high tech. Local Motors Microfactory, manufacturing 250 custom cars per year. These custom vehicles include even military-grade, all-terrain vehicles. Flexible manufacturing. Open-source designs freely available. The new machine shop cost declines. 3D printers in a wide range of sizes, precisions, and material properties. Traditional CNC mills and lathes. Rep-rap culture aiming at partially replicating machine shops. And this is a biggie for rural areas that are aging. Localized human services. Time exchanges for caregivers. We have an example in the Israeli Mama Zone daycare exchange and the Japanese Furia Kipu elder care. Professionals will accept tax credits. Incentives for volunteers to get out and actually serve the community more than they currently are, and material support for human services. So we no longer have to rely on, say, the federal government so much for tax revenue to pay people, because they can get their essentials from the local economy. This is an example of a currency machinery that can be used off the shelf if people want to. It's from a company called Pay Services. Provides a credit card that can be put into point of sales. And this is recommended by Bernard Later. He is an expert on alternative currencies called complementary currencies quite frequently.